All right, Federal Register document drafting handbook, October 1998, revisions, Chapter 7, the illustration form, footnotes, appendix, and table, the format, placement, quality, illustration form, the redesignation table, the distribution, deviation table, derivation table, the if and then table, the footnotes, and appendices. Format, placing the quality of some table with the illustration form with the document must have submit legal material with the original art with a camera photo copy with a photo taker of the table of the illustration form exactly with the appear with the printed document. Do not split. Sentence of the paragraph prepare table of the forms according to the United States government printing office style of the illustration, including the illustration, including map diagrams, graph, the other pictorial material, all detailed illustrations such as cap the number, the display, the name of the keys. It must be completely legible. Amend with the illustration. Submit with the complete the new illustration with a mandatory document. If you want original artwork to propose the rule with the notice with the return with the name, the letter with the shelf with the draft envelope with the original document asking the author to return the artwork. Would not return original artwork for a rule weave in the code for regulation. If you have several illustrations for the CFR, the Office of the Federal Registration recommends placing them at the end of the part and placing a head before the illustration, labeling each illustration example 2. 7.3 forms. Because the forms usually photograph publication better reduce the inclusion in the CFR of the rule document except for the form over the completely legible, suitable for the camera copy of the publication. They ensure the form of the symbol of the publication. These examples follow these steps. If the form is pre-printed with the original form of the not a photocopy, the job with the form with the original type of the page of the legible first of the generation copy of the form of the printing of the both side of the page with the prepare the collocated one side step of the page of the original from each of the page. Lightly cross out each of the through the page not being printed with the editor's blue pencil. The pencil will not photocopy. If overlay with each video overlay with each of the paragraph of the place original artwork of the copy document with the printer's copy using editor's blue pencil on the blue printer's copy only with the number of the page in order to prepare each page of the photograph. Make clear with the legible photocopy form as to prepare with the printer copy. Insert with the original document with the second duplicate copy. Remember, when your artwork is reduced for Federal Register, if the rule document for the CFR, every word of the artwork must be legible. 7.4 redesignation table. When rearranged in the renumbering agency rule for the redesignation table, the redesignation of the table of the listing with the old CFR unit numbers correspond with the new CFR unit number that may redesignate the table of the mandatory instruct for the rule of the rule document. See example 3 with the public the rule document agent for the require for the play for the finding aids with the section appropriate the CFR volume connecting the CFR staff of the Office of the Federal Register with example 3 redesignation table. 7.5 distribution derivation table. The very organized rewrite set out rule for the large scale. You want to use the distribution derivative table in the preamble to example distribution derivative table, the complementary distribution table to show that each of the piece of the original material went and indicate that no longer need with the derivation table show that each of these revised material comes from and they must decide with either both. Use either or both. Place distribution derivative preamble supplementary information caption. Do not include the regulatory text with the part of the mandatory instruction. Instead, use a specific and mandatory term for the state with the CFR until they begin with the remove the revised added for the complete discussion. Mandatory terms see section 113 and 213. Your liaison officer may record the distribution table to be placed in finding aid at the section in the back of the appropriate CFR volume. Contact CFR staff. Example 4 is the distribution table, example 5 derivation table. Example 6, the mandatory instruct for the chain with example 4. Alright, 6.6, if and then table. If and then present for the regulatory columnary format, each of the column must have the heading of the column heading may. And then for the top of the format, present each for the column example 7, where you the entire column present for the column sentence for the design, each entry with the if and then the table is each for the men with the chain with the if you do not designate each entry with the if and then table, you can chain with the table only revising if the reprinting the table entirely with the chain with the incorporated with the cost of the table is large. With the top of the if and then the table, you may ensure the entry present with the complete with logical thought. Example 7, the complete heading with identify with the information and the entries, and then 7.7 footnotes. Number of the footnotes appropriately for each of the unit listed. The preamble, each of the CFR part with the table of the illustration form, and a pen with the first footnote with the CFR part with the start with one first footnote, and a pen start with the one number of the footnote for the preamble, the rule for the rule document, independent with the footnote with the regulatory table, type of the footnote with the table of the illustration forms, and with the table of the illustration form, not at the bottom of the page on which it will appear. When the footnote number appears with the regulatory text of the table, to print the text on the footnote, even if there's no change of the footnote, to include the formulas table and footnotes, make the footnotes in regular rule explanatory, not regulatory. If you remove the footnote regulatory text, you may redesignate the remaining footnote with the close of the gap. You cannot remove the reserve footnote. You can add for the footnote with the alpha character example to NC. Remember the separately number the footnote for the illustration form of the data. The appendix is remove the illustration form of the data table. The appendix of the bill to distribute the footnote number of the regulatory text. Appendixes, rules and proposed rules. The use of the appendix to improve the quality of the use of the rule button. Rule, but not impose the requirement of the restriction. Use the appendix to prevent supplementary background explanatory and information that illustrate and amplify the rule with the complete itself. The form and chart of the illustrate with the regulatory text. You may expand with the substitute with the regulatory text with the prayer of the regulatory particular over the CFR, not distinguished. Not disguised as an appendix. The material of the appendix may not amend with the effect of the existing portion of the CFR text introduced any requirement of the restriction of the interior regulation. An appendix and appear with the part of the subpart section level to designate each appendix identified with and belong with the part and section with the give it a descriptive heading. You see the example 9. If you're in an appendix part with the subpart of the appendix heading with the table of contents, do not carry the heading of the appendix to do a section with the table of contents. The appendix heading should form the uniform system of the designation appendix throughout the year. Agency of the rule identifying the CFR unit with the appendix is attached. Provide a brief description of subject heading. Design each of the paragraph the teach the text of the appendix and remove the CFR number system and the developed alternate logic numbering system. There's an appendix immediately following with the CFR unit, which is the appendix that may include the appendix and with the rule of the document directly. The appendix is not reprinted with the CFR out, but do not enter reference regulatory text appendix will not appear with the CFR. If you do not want the appendix to appear with the CFR, place the note before the appendix. See heading start with the printing of the CFR. See example 10. Alright, chapter 8, frequently asked questions.